Hey guys, wait. Oh my gosh, hey guys. Okay, I'm back at the apartment. Woo! The background may look very similar, and I am very happy to be back in Kansas City. I am currently snacking on my Brooksider chocolates. Delicious. You can't tell, but I got a haircut. It's up right now, but the guy talked to me about anarchy. He's a Bronxter or a Long Island. Is Long Island and the Bronx the same? I don't know. He's from the Bronx. And so he's super, super into chatting me up about socialism and anarchy. And so I think he cut my hair for a total of 5 minutes. So it doesn't really look like I got a haircut, but believe me when I tell you that I did. Today, I'm going to go along with the previous topic that I was talking about, and oh my goodness, I need to click out of some of this. Okay. Yeah, so I am going to go along with the previous topic of looking at my Google Docs and seeing what's up. So, like you guys know, I've been keeping track of all these different tabs on Google Docs, and I'm doing one today about small talk because I thought this was super. This kind of came up today, and I wanted to try to parse through it with you guys because I really like taking a very broad topic and then getting into the deeper specificities of things. And so when I think of small talk, well, I'm going to say why. Let's do the why. Why I wanted to talk about this today because I feel like there is somewhat of an art form, and whether it's mastered through your job or just being very socialized, it is very interesting how different people do small talk. And I think this is very, I'm going to talk from a neurotypical lens because that's kind of the experience I have. I wouldn't say I'm totally normal, quote unquote normal, but I am for the most part pretty neurotypical. I wouldn't say I'm super neurodivergent except when, um, I don't know, on certain cases. Sorry, I was squishing something and I'm trying to see if it's a bug or if it's a piece of, yeah, I don't know what that is. Okay. Okay, definition of small talk. So, what I think, personal definition, if someone was to ask me, small talk is the casual, informal conversation, back and forth. I think back and forth kind of denotes conversation, but a lot of people misconstrue that. Small talk is the casual, informal conversation that exists in fleeting encounters with unfamiliar individuals or individuals who you have not previously had a relationship with. Okay, well, unfamiliar, that's basically saying the same thing. See, this is my thing. I tried to say the same thing over and over and over again. Small talk is the casual, informal conversation that exists in fleeting encounters with unfamiliar individuals or individuals who you do not personally care to know too deeply. And I feel like that's a little bit harsh. However, that is kind of my definition. So now we're going to go to Google and we're going to say small talk. And I don't know how to turn off the Google AI, or I don't know how to do all that. So we're just going to go to Merriam-Webster. Okay, small talk while waiting. Examples? No, I don't want examples. Where's the actual definition? Did I scroll past it? Making small talk, examples of small talk, light or casual conversation, chit chat. I love that. I love that. Chit chat. So let's see what AI has to say about that. Small talk is light, polite, and informal conversation used to build connections and break ice. Common neutral topics include weather, hobbies, and travel. Okay. Oops, sorry. I need to click out. I'm just going to drag this away. Sorry. Okay. So, Google AI. And we're going to change this all back to Times New Roman 12 because I'm a psycho. Okay. So, light or casual conversation, chit chat. So, I think this is very person dependent. And I know that this is, again, kind of the tip of the iceberg conversation about what small talk is according to Merriam-Webster. But I think different people can have different conceptions of light versus deep conversation. So I do enjoy how Google AI said so it gave examples. So I like how it used the word neutral. I think we need to put an emphasis on that. So small talk is the casual, informal conversation, but I think I could also use the word neutral. Include weather, hobbies, and travel. So I think something that is definitely not small talk is religion, politics, finances, race. Even though these topics should definitely not be as taboo as they are, I don't think this is under the lens of small talk at all. Religion, politics, finances, race, gender, sexual orientation. What's the other big woke ideas? I'm gonna put woke ideas. So yeah, I think it's obvious. Sometimes it's easier to define things by what they're not than what they actually are. But I guess in this example, I think that there's a modern day issue though. Modern day issue. And I think the modern day issue is that not a lot of people know how to converse. So common people are lacking the social skills or adjustments to enact the art of small talk. And I think I do want to say it is an art because just like most things, things can be mastered and things can be very, very rough. I think another thing that's not small talk is when it's not really about like the talk itself, but it's more about how the physical interaction or how the conversation flows. And I think that takes a lot of understanding social cues. So that's why I kind of go back to the neurotypical lens. So it's not saying that people who are neurodivergent have lacking social abilities. It just means that people who, I do want to make that caveat, people who are neurodivergent are not lacking in these said small talking skills, but more so approaching them from a different lens. And I think that's a good distinction to make, especially when people think about autism and think about ADHD or just different neurodivergences from your typical approach. Because I think to really put examples here, I mean, examples can be like lack of eye contact, shifting body language, not having like the social reciprocity that you need for a lot of the small talk that is engaged. And this is a skill that I sometimes work on with individuals who are struggling socially or autistic kids who want to try to fit in a more neurotypical lens. And I'm not obviously enforcing that on the people that I work with, but if that's something that they want to get better at, then I mean, there's definitely a way to target that certain skill. But it's interesting to see how people who aren't neurotypical and who aren't neurodivergent struggle with the aspect of small talk. So I'm talking about the people who are able to read some of these social cues more readily. And it's that I think that they have an ignorance about it. So like I said, common people are lacking the social skills or adjustments to enact the art of small talk. Again, my caveat is the neurodivergence movement. So I think some things that I see that are difficult for we're going to say neurotypical people. I think it really comes down to not asking informed enough questions, not circling back to previous topics, and honestly, probably not investing a certain amount of time or attention to the topics of modern day. So I think the weather and hobbies and travel are super interesting because obviously some of the caveats, I'm going to do another caveat. Oh, caveat? I don't know how to spell that. Another caveat would be your financial stability. So, like, if you're not going on vacation a lot, and if you're not traveling, and if you're not spending X amount of money doing all these different things, then that's different if you're not talking about those things versus having certain things to talk about, if that makes sense. So, there's people who are doing lots of things, and it can be very bland to have conversation with people who are doing all these different things but have no social idea of what's going on around them, if that makes sense. So I guess the caveat would be individuals' financial situation and ability to comment on said vacations, trips, etc. Because I don't want to make it seem like you always have to be going on vacation to have good small talk. Like, that's not the example that I'm trying to set here. But I think even on the flip side, so going off of this, people are not engaged. I think it's just a lack of engagement with surroundings, cultures, just others' ideas. And so when you're having this like isolated and frictionless social interaction, then it's so difficult to be able to comment on said interactions and then also be able to ask other people about their experiences, which makes small talk. I mean, the idea of small talk is bland itself, but it can still be engaging, and small talk is what leads to a lot of great friendships. So I think getting into, asking more creative questions within small talk. So it's not just given these like boring topics and it's just like, oh, how's the weather? It's more so tying in your experiences and I don't know, there's more nuance to small talk than I think is given credit for, if that makes sense. So I feel like I should make an example of good versus bad. So that's what I had done here. Where did that go? Good versus bad. So like good, I'm going to do bad because sometimes it's easier to do the worst example first. How's the weather? Or if we're going to go off of the neutral topic, hobby, what are you up to? I mean, these are decent questions. It's nothing against them. I mean, I ask my friends, what are you up to, like all the time? But it's when you're in that first initial interaction with someone new that I would like to have a more personal or more in-depth question asked, if that makes sense. So what are you up to? What is the other one? Travel. Where have you been? So these are really, really bad. I feel like when I get asked these types of questions, I just immediately cringe and I'm just like another thing. It's kind of just like it makes me feel like it's like a part of a social experiment, and it takes up a large amount of mental effort / spoons. So I don't know if you've ever heard the spoon theory, but it's kind of like when people have difficulties throughout their life, they have a certain amount of spoons, and then once they go through said difficulties, spoons are taken away, and each person that you interact with has a different set amount of spoons. So it's kind of a good example or tangible way to think about empathy. Anyways, whatever. A good version of this would be, I feel like it has to add some sort of personality into it or some sort of uniqueness or individuality that conveys, I'm just not like going through the motions. And similar to just like check boxing. So just to say that like I said something and I asked you, and so we can just move on. I think it needs to be a little bit deeper than that, and we need to restore the sort of connection that we have with one another. And I think that, I mean, not to make it super deep, but I think small talk can do that. I think it does a really great job of doing that. So a good example that I might ask my friend would be, it's been blistering hot in Kansas City Where, oh, this kind of ties in all of them. It's been blistering hot in Kansas City. Where have you been recently, and has the weather been better? So I feel like it just kind of like adds another layer. And I'm not trying to teach people how to like do small talk, because it should come naturally. But for a lot of people, sometimes it doesn't come naturally. And for some people, they just don't care. You know, they don't care enough. So it's like the neurodivergent lens of like, they were born in a way where it's like difficult. Social interactions are just more difficult, and they just come from a different sort of lens and compared to neurotypical people. And then on the other hand, neurotypical people just don't care enough sometimes, and don't ask like the right questions, if that makes sense. And maybe I'm just being really choosy and picky or whatever, but I just think we need to get to know each other better. And there's so much importance in community, and I think small talk is kind of like a small part of that, if that makes sense. Another one would be, here, we should just number these. It's been blistering hot in Kansas City. Okay, so what are you up to? If I was making small talk with someone that I had no idea, but let's say I follow them on Instagram. Hey, I don't need to write hey. I saw that you recently visited X. Did you enjoy your time? What were some of the highlights? So I still feel like that hits on the vacation thing, but it's still allowing for some sort of casual back and forth conversation that's polite, informal, light. It kind of can be used to break the ice, but it's just like, it doesn't convey, I feel like it shouldn't convey a lot of, what's the word? It shouldn't cause a lot of friction, but it should also be passionate enough that you're engaged. So I think that is the main point that I'm getting at. I think maybe it's not even the issue of small talk, but it's more so the people who aren't engaged in the conversation and engaged in getting to know someone else, or understanding their perspective, or even hearing what they have to say about daily life. Maybe another thing that's like really difficult within the modern day issue is that, I hate to say it, but it's those damn phones. So like AI, Chat GPT, more people are turning to frictionless relationships where they don't have to put in a lot of effort, and the person that they're talking to is just going to be agreeable, pleasant, so there's less of a point or purpose in engaging with people around you. And so once you do engage with people around you, it's awkward, or it's weird, or it's like you forget. It's like when you hole away for like weeks on end, and then you talk to someone for the first time, and you're like, oh my God, this is the first time I've opened my mouth like in 2 weeks. So I think it's those damn phones. And I mean, not to make this a social, political, geopolitical issue, but I also think that it's a form of lack of community, and potentially it could be impacted by that financial instability that we're all seeing. Like, we can't afford to go out, and so it's like when we have this small bare bones conversation, it's kind of like, well, I have nothing to talk about because I haven't been doing anything because everything is so expensive. So I do want to stress the financial situation. I think that's important, but also the lack of community. And I think that goes into, this just kind of like ties into that point. And I'm trying to think of what other potential issues that could be impacting some of these conversational challenges that we're facing. Lack of caring. I don't know, maybe we've become more self-centered. I hate to even put that on there, but maybe we're just a little bit too selfish in the way that we're going around our society, just consuming all the time and just thinking about the next big dopamine hit from what we're going to buy, or from where we're going to go, or from who we're going to see. So I'm not sure, but that's kind of the rant that I wanted to go on today because I had a really great conversation with this person that I had never met before, and that's my why. Somewhat of an art form neurotypical lens, but my why is because I had amazing conversation with a friend of a friend's mother for an hour. So I wouldn't say that's really small talk. I mean, we were making small talk in the beginning, but you really get down to the nitty gritty if it's like a good conversation that goes back and forth and it's meaningful and you're getting into small talk, but then you're getting into deeper topics and you're understanding. They're trying to understand their perspective through their lens, and then they're trying to understand you and your perspective through your lens, and it's just a beautiful. I had a very beneficial and mutual exchange of perspectives today. That's what I wanted to say, and that's what I wanted to emphasize because I think it made such a great impact on my life today because I don't have a lot of those types of encounters anymore. So, yeah, I hope that all made sense, and I hope my rant, I guess more so is not a word, but my rant was put together enough. Okay, well, bye, guys. Hope your week was good. Okay, bye.